ring. So this is my #1 top selling Tanzanite ring. And it is a beautiful ring. It's featuring teardrop shaped Tanzanite, genuine Tanzanite from Tanzania, Africa. And the genuine Tanzanite earrings go along with it, which we will show you in a second. So you heard me, maybe if you're just tuning in, we have talked a lot over the years about the fact that Tanzanite is rare. The Tanzanite mines are becoming depleted. The Tanzanite prices have been going up exponentially every single year. As I sit here, as I speak, the Tanzanite mines are closed. Closed. There is zero production coming out of Tanzania, Africa. The Tanzanian government closed down Tanzanite 1, closed down production. They're going in, they are assessing the situation because you've heard us talk a lot over the years about how difficult, how treacherous the mining is now. I mean, these miners have to go an hour and a half, going on 2 hours down into the Earth's core to get the material out of the mines now. So it's become more dangerous, it's become more difficult, it's become more expensive. And so bottom line, the government's taken over and they said, no more mining. They're going in, they're assessing, and whether or not they'll ever reopen the mines, we don't know. I do know this, right now there's zero production coming out of Tanzania. So with that said, we are happy that we still have our amazing HSN prices on some of our Tanzanite. I have no idea what the future now will hold for Tanzanite, especially with the government taking over. So bottom line is this, guys, $149.95. This is my #1 best-selling Tanzanite ring. It's a stunning ring. I love this ring. The color is beautiful. Do we have an extra one of these, Jen, in a bigger size? The color is absolutely spectacular on this ring. It's comfortable. It's fun to wear. It is sparkly. It's all the things you want in a beautiful ring at really a fraction of what you would expect to pay. It's almost 3.5 carats of genuine Tanzanite. And Tanzanite, there's a reason that it's the most celebrated colored gemstone in the world today. And it really is. Tanzanite is one of the single most beloved gems in such a short history. It was discovered in 1967, and now the mines are closed. We don't know if or when the government will ever reopen those mines. Where everybody's up in the air about it. We do know that it's going to be tough to get. And that is the bottom line. It's going to be tough to get Tanzanite for a while until they figure it out, whether they decide to reopen. There's a lot of assessing that's going on in that part of the world right now. And especially with the government taking over, what that tells a lot of us is the prices are going to be going up here. So at the end of the day, whatever happens, this is a great day because obviously this was, you know, this went into production well before any of these developments took place, and you have a chance to own a really beautiful ring. The color is intense on this ring. One of the things I love about it, it's a big customer pick, so you can read the reviews. It has beautiful color saturation, which you will see. So it really is a striking piece of jewelry that if you decide on it, I think you will love. By the way, there is an earring that works back to